what I'd like to do now is go to our topic, and it comes from Yahoo Finance. And let me just pull up the name of it. I'm calling it Better News. But yahoofinance.com, housing's inventory problem got a little better in May for buyers and renters. So home buyers contending with the lack of homes for sale got some relief last month as builders broke ground on more houses and ramped up their future development plans. Renters, meanwhile, should also see some relief on rental prices as a wave of new supply hits the market. New construction of both single and multifamily units jumped 21.7% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.631 million units in May, according to the Census Bureau Tuesday, from April's revised rate of 1.34 million. That was 5.7% above a year ago and higher than the 1.4 million units economists surveyed by Bloomberg had predicted. Permits to build increased 5.2% to an annualized rate of 1.491 million units in May from a revised 1.417 million the previous month, with increases in applications on the single-family and multifamily sides. The figure came in higher than the Bloomberg consensus expectations of 1.425 million. The persistent shortage of homes for sale has been a challenge for buyers who have increasingly turned to new construction. That trend is a boon for home builders and has brightened their financial outlook for the year. The housing market has continued to normalize and recover as buyers have become more comfortable with higher mortgage rates, Leonard Corp co-CEO Richard Beckwith said last week on the builder's earnings call. Inventory levels in the resale and new home market propelled demand for available new homes, and we offered a combination of attractive pricing and compelling mortgage rate programs to capture that demand. Single-family housing starts in May jumped 18.5% from April to a seasonably adjusted annual rate of 997,000. Building permits for single-home construction rose to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 897,000, up 4.8% from April's revised rate of 856,000. New construction has become a key part of today's housing market. More than a third of homes on the market this spring were new construction. The National Association of Home Builders estimated that share is historically around 13%. The shortfall of resale properties, largely because homeowners don't want to give up their current low mortgage rate for one in the mid 6% range, has buoyed confidence among builders, which finally turned positive in June. Builders also were able to cut back on the number and size of price reductions. With such limited resale inventory, spec housing fills a significant gap in supply. We expect that specs will continue to comprise between 30 and 40% of our sales for the foreseeable future, Toll Brothers Chairman and CEO Douglas Yearley said late last month in the July Home Builders earnings call. The more stable environment has allowed us to increase price in more than half of our communities. On the multifamily side, starts in May soared 28.1% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 624,000 from 487,000 in April. Building permits for multifamily construction rose 7.8% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 542,000 from 503,000 in April. More rental supply is scheduled to come online in the second half of this year, with the number of newly built units reaching the highest level since the 1980s, according to RealPage. We're going to deliver more supply than what we can realistically absorb, Carl Whitaker, Director of Research and Analysis at RealPage, said, previously told Yahoo Finance. That's good news for renters who are finally getting a reprieve from skyrocketing rents during the pandemic. The median asking rent dropped to $1,995 in May, down 0.6% from a year ago, Redfin reported this month, the sharpest annual decrease since March 2020. Rents have cooled in part because the number of rentals on the market have grown, giving landlords less leeway to hike prices because they're grappling with the rise in vacancies as renters get more options to choose from, Lily Katz, Redfin's data journalist, wrote. So I read a lot of big numbers there, Darren, but how do you want to break that down? I've got some ideas as well.
I'd start by saying again, we choose many national articles. These are national numbers, national ratios. This is going to impact different communities more than others. Rents are not coming down. Rents are not coming down in Los Angeles, although they're building more homes in Los Angeles. and I can't say this enough, so I'm going to say it every time we have an article that's related to it.
Yeah.
If you want to keep people housed, if ultimately you want to prices to stabilize and stop rising in both rents and housing, if you want to, you have to support more housing. So this is a positive article to bring these online. It doesn't mean there's going to show there's an impact tomorrow in sales or in rental prices, but you've got to support it moving in this direction to have the impact if that's what you're seeking.
Well, for me, go ahead.
Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this article touched on a couple themes and ideas that we've talked about in the past, which is one, the sprawl, right? Lorenzo, our new agent, he works out of the Valley, Santa Clarita, Reseda, all that. And in our stories with him, he's been talking about a lot of new construction there is up in that area. You get pushed out to where you can afford. So that is the sprawl and the way development is happening here. You've got to drive a little further to get a better value.
Yes, I mean when you're starting with a dense city, there's obviously been massive NIMBYism in most dense cities by a large percentage of the population not wanting to increase further. So it is about going out. Los Angeles has a long history of doing that, of growing horizontally, not vertically, and we're finally embracing and have been for a couple decades now more vertical growth.
Yeah. And then, we had that insurance story about how insurance is either being canceled or it's going up in price because of fires and natural disasters. And I guess that'll affect all these new developments on the outskirts of LA at some point. Maybe not. I don't know. It's like it's getting sandwiched together, right? All this.
Certainly, particularly in pushing into the hills. That's where it's going to be most impacted. I imagine developers who were considering projects adjacent to large mountains and hillsides, which can often be more affordable land purchases, although it takes grading and more expensive foundations. But it can be, for many, as I support it, a higher quality of living, pun intended, to be elevated and see at a distance. It's definitely something that I embrace. So there will be more restrictions related to insurance. I think it's going to take our state to dive into that a little deeper.
Right.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, right, we all have to go with this positivity of we need to develop and get people in homes, no matter what the case. I guess here in our area, what we see is, small lot development happening. That's the best news, I guess, here in our city, right? Small lots
and ADU, combination of both.
ADUs,
ADU really helped a lot.
That's our attempt.
Ironically, one of the things we still kind of embrace, which if you go to bigger cities that are denser and have been denser than us for a long time, is just smaller square footage, man. I mean, we're still building these, somewhere between 1,500 to 2,500 square foot spaces with 2 bedrooms. I mean, we've seen on many cases in LA, 2 bedroom, 3,500 square foot houses. And, you're just not housing as many people in those situations. So there's been an acceptance, certainly, of smaller square footage spaces. And that is very local to us in our neighborhoods because we have a lot of older hillside homes that were built in the 20s. And you built smaller homes back then. A lot of them were smaller. And a lot of the bigger ones got subdivided.
And this is I'll end very soon here, but my only other observation is, there was a video to this story that I didn't play, but one of the things that the analyst pointed out was, and again, this is that push and pull of different interests. Why does a new home builder, at least in LA and other areas, want to build affordable housing? They want to build luxury housing, big square footage, so they can make their profit margins. And that's not necessarily, what should be happening. But they're not rewarded enough, maybe.
Right. I mean, when you're dealing with, I really wish people would. I believe people can work together better. Right. You're dealing with government. Government's not building housing, affordable housing.
Yeah.
They're trying to create some subsidized temporary type housing. So they're building some of it lately.
Yeah.
But, usually they're involving a private entity to help produce that. There could be a better collaboration. There really could, to get more reasonably priced. But the reality is you have to incentivize private entities. Unlike, what our government currently does with existing housing and rent. They're completely disincentivizing private landlords.
Yeah.
It needs to be the opposite. I mean, people just naturally want to be successful. Government has to help promote that success,
Yeah.
but it's okay to set some boundaries if they're going to help participate in,
Yeah.
in letting you become successful. So,
All right. Well, look, guys. So that is the better news. Let's hope some of this trickles into the city at some point, or go out and join the burbs.